Using your tongue to completely transform the structure of your face and improve your posture and your breathing seems awesome on the surface, until you try it and realize it's not working for you. In this video, I'm going to share with you some pitfalls and hurdles of the mewing process, and why it works for some and why it doesn't work for others, and what you can do to get better results with it. Let me say first and foremost, I have no personal problem with the idea of mewing. In fact, I think it's honestly kind of a good idea, but I think that there is a lot of misleading ideas and expectations and also information about the mewing process. And I think some people have the wrong idea about the results that they can get with it. Now, the concept of mewing comes from the idea that our tongue does have a pretty important role in the development of our jaw and our face and our overall cranial structure. Proper tongue posture involves our tongue resting at the roof of our mouth, and this should be happening throughout the day pretty much at all times unless our mouth is moving. The problem is a lot of people don't have that, but throughout adolescence and as we develop our jaw and our face, we should have that tongue pressure against the roof of the mouth, and that actually helps expand our palate, that helps expand our jaw, and that helps open up our airway properly over time. The problem is that there are a variety of factors as to why someone does not have that good tongue posture. That can block an airway from developing, which causes a ton of problems. That can block our jaw from developing, and that can actually lead to other issues like sleep apnea, potentially neck pain, jaw pain, all sorts of crazy stuff. And through mewing, we're actually retraining the tongue to rest properly at the roof of the mouth, and hopefully over time also becoming more functional through things like our swallow as well. Now, herein lies the problem, and this is the big thing we need to keep in mind. In order for our tongue to rest at the roof of the mouth, there has to be space for the tongue to rest at the roof of the mouth, and there has to be an ability for the tongue to go to the roof of the mouth without any issues. And this is so important because many people can't do one or two or both of those things. The problem I have with a lot of people who promote mewing is that they are not aware of this. And they're not aware that if the tongue doesn't have space to go rest against the roof of the mouth in between the teeth properly, or that person has potentially a limitation of the tongue rising in the first place without it engaging something that it shouldn't, then mewing is a waste of time, and it actually might make the person feel worse. Let's start with the idea that the tongue needs to be able to rest in between the teeth. So the way you could test this is you can take the tip of your tongue and touch it to the spot just behind your two front teeth where it meets your gum line. So take that and press it there, and then suction your tongue up, trying to keep your mouth somewhat open, like this. You should have your tongue pretty much entirely in between your basically whole front teeth all the way back through your molars. If your tongue spills out into your teeth, then that means it probably doesn't have enough room to rest there. So it's never really properly going to fully rest there simply because there's no space. Now, could mewing with that tongue pressure up help expand your palate over time? Depends on how old you are and how narrow your palate is. If you have a very high and narrow palate like this, then you're not really going to ever see much success with just your tongue pressure. You need additional help and intervention to help create expansion of that palate in a way that is appropriate for you. But if you have just maybe a little bit of overlap into your teeth, then maybe you can see some success with it. It just depends. But I see a ton of people who have way too high and way too narrow palates, so their tongue has no shot. Also, people could have asymmetries of the roof of their mouth, meaning that one side of the roof of their mouth is higher than the other because of different jawbone asymmetries, different dental work. It could be a lot of different things. But if one side is higher than the other, that can make it really hard for the tongue to properly get that even pressure, and that is going to compromise things as well. Now, that can lead into the second point. And what if the tongue can't even get up to the roof of the mouth without problems in the first place? And the way that we would identify this is through what we call a tongue tie test. Now, a good dentist should definitely be able to help you identify this, and this is not something you should self-diagnose, but you can get a couple of ideas. If you open your mouth as wide as you can, and you take that tip of your tongue and try to touch it to that spot behind your two front teeth, you should not have to close your mouth at all as you do that. Like that. It shouldn't be that challenging. You shouldn't feel your neck excessively engaged, but if you do, and it looks something like this, then you are likely tongue-tied to some extent. Or if when you do it, the floor of your mouth raises a lot with your tongue, that can also be an issue. So you see, for me, I don't get a lot of that raising, but if you did, it would look something like this. Now, the reason why this can be so problematic is that if you have a tongue tie that is significant, you have tissues that run from the floor of your mouth all the way down through your neck. So imagine literally every single time that your tongue goes to the roof of your mouth for whatever reason, whether it's talking, resting, or just swallowing, then you are pulling. You're doing these micro pulls from the floor of your mouth down through the front side of your neck. So these tissues right here are being pulled on, which is pulling the head more and more and more forward over time. And that can be problematic for sure. So of course, that's not going to be very good. That can lead to forward head posture over time. That can lead to pain on the back side of the neck. That can lead to a lot of different issues with breathing. You could get asthma. There is an endless list of things that could go wrong with this. Now, is that person really going to see a lot of success with mewing? I strongly doubt it. This person needs to either work with a qualified mouth-functional therapist to train their tongue to have better functionality and resting posture, or they need to get a tongue tie release, which means they take a laser to the bottom side, that little strand right there at the bottom of your tongue. They cut that, which releases your tongue to then properly, freely go to the roof of your mouth. So do you see how it's not quite as simple as, oh, just push your tongue to the roof of your mouth and everything is fine? Well, what if there's no space? And what if every time you do that, you're engaging stuff that you shouldn't, and that can lead to pain? If you guys want to learn more about the tongue tie situation, I do have a video by one of my most trusted myofunctional therapists I refer people out to. Her name is Catherine Kangas. I'm going to link it down below in the description so that way you guys can see a more detailed discussion on this. Now, if you're going to take one message away from this video, take this. Don't try to fix this on your own. This is not something that the average person can figure out. Get seen and assessed by a qualified myofunctional therapist or dentist that is aware of these types of issues. Not all dentists are. And that's going to lead to much better outcomes for you because you're not going to be able to muscle your way through this. You're not going to be able to just expand your palate over time to create space for your tongue or release your tongue on your own. It's not going to happen. So seeing someone that really knows what they're doing is absolutely key. And this is why mewing has not worked for millions of people who have tried it. I like the idea of it. I think it can be helpful, but we have to make sure that we're doing it on a tongue and a palate and a jaw and a mouth that is ready for it. I hope that was helpful. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.